Welcome. My name is Jessica LaMarre, and I am the founder of Love Personal Growth, your go-to for embodied healing and spirituality in life, business, and relationships. And today we're delving into the realm of codependency, which is a huge topic. I've spent hours, weeks, months studying it for a research paper that I submitted for my master's program. But I won't bore you with all of those details. Today I want to actually talk about the lived experience. This lived experience and what people endure when they are in these codependent states or when they're living from codependency. And what I will say is that how codependency is defined, which is a lack of sense of self, and there's not one definition, but there's a common definition, and that common definition is a lack of sense of self. So you don't have yourself defined. You don't really truly understand who you are, and you're seeking for who you are in external relationships. That's the definition that we're going to continue with throughout this episode. And that was the most common definition that I found among the research that I did. So when people are in, and I say people, even though it seems that more women than men have codependent tendencies, but actually through the research, what I found is that it's rather equal. Through the research, what I found is that in codependency, people are more prone to have to prove their value and their worth through excessive activities. So that could be overworking themselves in work or in projects or in taking on new investments or in side hustles or in athletics or in the gym or in not so healthy things. But it's really about depriving themselves of self-care. They feel out of control and unbalanced, and then they need to control it, so then they do more things. And how it was explained in some of the research that I conducted is that they would feel this lack of sense of self, this void, or what some called a hole in the soul. And so they would frantically try to fill this hole, this void, because it caused them to feel a lack of balance, and they wanted to feel aligned. But really, it was just a continuation of feeling empty. They also experienced what was called the chameleon behavior. And the chameleon behavior is when they struggle to be their authentic self. Again, coming back to that definition that I mentioned in the beginning, the lack of sense of self. So they would adapt and conform to situations and try to fit into situation without regard to their own needs. Some may call this people pleasing, but it really impacted their lives. They would do things for others when they didn't have time to do things for themselves. They would continuously give when they weren't giving to themselves. Another thing that was common in the research is that there was this lack of sense of self contributed to extremes in life and feeling out of control. And these extremes in life were with emotions, but also with work and being able to manage their time. So if they felt out of control, their extremes would shift. They would spend a lot of time in work, or they would spend a lot of time doing nothing, or they would go, and then they would get drained, and then they wouldn't be able to go anymore. And it would cause these emotional imbalances in their life, and then they would feel angry, and they wouldn't feel connected to themselves. And so what I experienced, or what I took away from all of this, is that really there is a lack of sense of self that is occurring. They don't truly, and I say I have codependent tendencies. I'm not going to say I'm codependent, but I have codependent tendencies, and I believe that most people have codependent tendencies because codependency is based on specific traits that some may call feminine, which are caregiving traits, which are nurturing traits. And these traits that we have can be considered negative, and that is what they're considered in codependency. So there's feminist viewpoints, and I'm not going to get into that on this show, but there are feminist viewpoints on why we would even coin the term codependency when it's based on negative feminine traits. But today I want to go deeper into if we have this lack of sense of self and we don't understand who we are, and that's causing us to overwork ourselves or to not know our worth or have low self-esteem or not be confident in what we're doing. Or I'm just looking at my notes, or needing to prove themselves or pleasing or feeling like you're not smart enough or wanting people to like you. These are all the signs of codependency. But again, these signs can be attributed in mostly everyone, which is why the rate of people being codependent is so high. So why is this? And that's what I started to ask myself. Why are so many people codependent? Why do we even have this viewpoint of codependency that is almost like a blanket for all of humanity? And as I did research, what I realized is that if codependency comes down to the lack of sense of self, that we don't truly know who we are, we're not being our authentic self, we're living the lives that others want us to live, or we're doing the role that others want us to have, or that we think we should do, or that we're supposed to do, and we're living out this role, then we don't truly understand who we are. And that means that we're living in mass consciousness. That means that we are living out the fears and the doubts and the distrusts of the world. And we're not tapping into the innate divine feminine wisdom that exists within us. Because that's what sets us free. That's what empowers us to know who we are, is to tap inside of us, to go within, to listen to the silence, if you will, and come inside of us to receive. So, how did we get to the point in which we don't know who we are, in which so many of us get into a career that we don't truly want to be in, or into relationships that we know that don't work, or into situations that we can't understand? And here's what I'll say. This is thousands of years in the making. Thousands of years in the making. And I say that because there's a her story. Okay? Not a his story. His story. It's the her story. And the her story has been silenced. It's been hidden, but it is available. So you could find information on her story. And what her story shows is that history is very patriarchal. And in this patriarchy...
I found this on the web. Is there a patriarchal? Check it out.
And throughout this patriarchal upbringing of the last 6,000 years, we've lost who we truly are as we try to conform to who the world wants us to be. So, of course, so many people are going to be codependent because they don't truly know who they are. Now, what I argue in my paper is that it has to do with spirituality. Because as we lived thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, I'm talking Paleolithic, Neolithic timeframes, 2500 before the Common Era and beyond. So, over 100,000 years. We were very connected to the earth. We were very connected to spirituality. We were very connected to ourselves and to each other. Community was huge. We didn't stay within and speak like this. We would have been in a circle talking about this. But what I'll say is that when that was taken from us and the patriarchy rose, which was about 4,500 BCE, before the Common Era, we were connected. And once it shifted and we had to be who the patriarchy wanted us to be, and I say patriarchy, you can't really blame the patriarchy. It's really everybody that instilled those beliefs, those mass conscious beliefs into everyone else. When that happened, we lost our sense of self. We forgot who we are. We forgot who we want to be, who we came here to be, and what we are meant to do. So what I propose is understanding your history, understanding the truth about the past, the truth about your own story, the truth about your mother line, and the healing work that is required to bring wholeness back to you. And that's what I'm going to leave us with today. There is so much more that we could talk about on codependency. But the fact of the matter is that we must go within ourselves to uncover the divine feminine nature of who we are so that we can release the patriarchal patterns that are keeping us stuck in what we know is not right and not true for us. Have a wonderful day.